All right, so I think now we can move on. Let's get into today's topic: liberal arts versus STEM colleges or non-liberal arts colleges. See, guys, this is, I mean, again, as I said, I want to make this an interaction and a discussion overall. Feel free to chime in whenever you guys feel like. Uh, and the whole idea of this webinar is not to push you towards, say, STEM colleges or towards liberal arts colleges, just to give you guys more insight into the difference between different kinds of STEM colleges as well, and different kinds of liberal arts colleges as well. There are small, there are big, there are research institutes, there are institutes of technology, there are many things out there. So we just want you guys to be fully aware of all that you can do. Janaki, can I ask you to mute yourself, please? Thank you. All right, Devanshi, you want to take it forward?
Yes, sure. So to start off with, what is a liberal arts college and what is not a liberal arts college, right? Like, let's get that clear right off the bat. So a liberal arts college are colleges where, in addition to the major that a student picks, you will also have a certain set of mandatory core classes that you will have to complete as part of your degree. You will not be able to graduate unless you also complete these core set requirements. For each college, these requirements will be different, and the requirements will be centered around, say, a writing. You will have to do a mandatory writing class, or a mandatory class, some mandatory classes in philosophy or in law or in the social sciences or in the natural sciences. Now, one thing to keep in mind here is that for each bracket that you have to maybe fulfill, you'll get a variety of courses to fulfill that requirement through. For example, when I was at Wellesley, and it was a liberal arts college, and I had to complete the natural sciences requirement. Now, I absolutely detest studying the sciences. And I was like, oh my God, like, I cannot study biology or chemistry. So I took a really cool astronomy class that fulfilled that requirement. So don't ever view the course set, requirements as impossible to complete, because that's not the idea with which they were created. They're created with the idea to give a student a broad foundational knowledge base in addition to the major that they are choosing. So the whole idea is that once you graduate, not only do you have that specific knowledge in the major that you selected, but you also have a foundational understanding of many other areas of study that actually help you contextualize what you've studied as your major, and give you a wider maybe career option when you even leave college, right? It really transforms you into an individual who is ready for academic inquiry, who is able to think critically, write critically, and be part of community and careers across a wide range of fields. So a liberal arts education really, really arms you with many, many, many skills and abilities outside of just what you choose to study. And it gives you a lot of perspective about different areas and fields of study. So I went into Wellesley wanting to do economics, and that was my major. But while completing a few courses for the requirements, I found my love for writing and for religion, which is why I ended up doing a minor in South Asian religions. My love for writing also got honed at Wellesley. Even though I, went down the consulting route, I, was at BCG for a while. Despite that, when I wanted to shift careers, I found it very easy because I had honed my skills in writing unknowingly at Wellesley to give me the ability to kind of pivot careers whenever I needed to. So that's how we should approach a liberal arts education, right? And non-liberal arts then is where the core requirements are not mandatory. When you complete your 4 years of education at a university, it's more focused towards the area of study that you decide, and it's more streamlined. You may have 1 or 2 requirements here and there, but nothing as large as the requirements that a liberal arts college will have. So I hope that clears it. Any questions that you have at this stage, feel free to ask or share. Otherwise, we can move on.
I just have a little something to add over here.
Yeah.
Because I went to a big university, right? Like I didn't go to a small liberal arts college like Devanshi, but even a university like University of California, Berkeley, like they also have liberal arts schools within the university. So the idea is that like a big university will have smaller schools, like for example, the School of Chemistry, the School of Engineering, and they would also have a liberal arts college. So that's the route that I took, because when I went to college, I went in undeclared. I didn't know that what I wanted to do. Like there were certain subjects like on the academic end that I did like, and I had like a little bit of an insight into, okay, maybe I would want to do economics, but I wasn't 100% certain. And I wanted to keep that option open. See, one of the best parts about getting a US university education is that they are very flexible in terms of the subjects that you would want to select. You could also do an interdisciplinary major in case there are multiple subjects that you are interested in. I think that's exactly why all of these colleges do so well, right? Like, because they let students pursue what they're genuinely interested in, and that's what you want to hone. The idea is, if you're like actually really good at what you do, if you can develop a lot of depth, like it would still be easy. Like if you can call yourself an expert in a field, I'm sure there would be some need in the market, and you would be able to find like some work or some job around that line as well. And that's what they want to encourage. They want students to develop these all-rounded personalities and not just a tunnel vision into one particular subject. Not that I'm saying that you go into engineering and like you will only gain engineering skills for 4 years, but the liberal arts schools actually like really want to hone this, and that's exactly where the different requirements that Devanshi mentioned come in, because these are essentially elective subjects, right? Like even we had to do 8 different subject requirements. Like we had to do physical sciences, we had to do social sciences, different things. But then again, like just the slew of courses that are out there to that they offer, it's amazing. Like I took a class called Physics for Future Presidents. Like it was just general physics principles, but like how would you apply that in the political sphere? So that's exactly where the whole interdisciplinary part comes in, and how they want to hone different subject areas within the same student and make them all-rounded personalities. And even when you go out there to get a job, right? Like even right now, like what our industry is actually made of, like the things that are coming up now, they're actually going to be an amalgamation of 2 different subject areas. Like we talk about technology all the time, but it's nothing is pure tech, right? Like if you talk about fintech, that's finance or economics plus technology. If you talk about like say UI or UX design, it's going to be psychology plus technology. So they want students to have different perspectives as well, apart from just that tech perspective, when it comes to the real world, or when it comes to applying different tech and non-tech principles into today's world.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just echoing what Samarth just said, many of the recruiters today, they really value a liberal arts education when a liberal arts education profile when they're recruiting, because they feel that liberal arts majors do have a lot of perspective, just as Samarth mentioned, which they bring to the table, because they're very free thinking. They have that critical analysis skills that they bring to the table, which are very, very key in problem solving and finding solutions in communities and groups. So just going on to the next slide.
Sorry, I'll just add one quick thing here, that you said that recruiters look at liberal arts subjects as well. One very important and fun fact, like schools like Caltech and MIT, like even though you probably associate them to be like heavy scientific colleges, right? It's mandatory to send a liberal arts professor's letter of recommendation from your school to that university while you're applying, because they understand the value of developing that all-round mindset.
Absolutely, absolutely. So just moving on to the next slide. So liberal arts colleges can be of different types as well, right? I went to Wellesley, and there are many such smaller liberal arts colleges which enroll maybe 500 to 1,000 students a year. And so over the 4 years on your campus, you have maybe, you're looking at 2,000 to 2,500 students, which is a very small number. It's a very small, very close-knit, very tight community. So the colleges that would fall under this bracket would be like Williams, Vassar, Wellesley. So these are very small, close-knit communities where students really get to know each other really well. But on the other side, you also have bigger universities, which are liberal arts colleges. Just as Samarth mentioned, Berkeley being a huge public university, also has the liberal arts college experience available. Similar at a college like the University of Pennsylvania, UPenn, right? So think of UPenn as a huge umbrella, and think of the many colleges underneath it as small colleges that function independently beneath that big umbrella. So you have the College of Engineering under the UPenn umbrella. So that functions more like a STEM college. You have the College of Arts under the UPenn umbrella that functions more as a liberal arts college. So if you today attend the College of Arts at the University of Pennsylvania, you will have those core requirements that you will have to complete in addition to your major. At the School of Engineering at UPenn, you probably will have a more STEM focus with those with that slight tunnel vision that we were mentioning. Similarly, if you are at Wharton, you will have a more business focus and less of the liberal arts focus. So even at the bigger universities, whether that's Yale, whether that's Harvard, whether that's a UPenn, whether that's a Berkeley, you do have the liberal arts experience available to you. The difference here is in the experience, right? So that's very important to keep in mind. Harvard may be a really big research university, but it still really values the liberal arts experience that it is able to provide. So, sometimes when students and parents come to us and they're like, we don't want to send our kids to a liberal arts school, I think what we must understand that liberal arts schools are not schools that exist completely in vacuum. They don't exist in a bubble. Even colleges today, like Stanford, like Harvard, do pride themselves in calling, in associating themselves with being liberal arts colleges, right? So something to keep in mind when we are trying to understand the landscape of universities and colleges in the US. Something you'd like to add, Sam?
Yeah, I think just one quick point here that we are talking about like liberal arts colleges versus larger universities, so like small versus big. And it's not only about the campus size, right? It really depends on what you are looking for. Like at the end of the day, like what you want to do in 4 years of college is that like you want to thrive, right? Like you want to learn, you want to grow, you want to get like great exit opportunities out of college. And that also really depends on like how you function as a human being, right? Like there are some people like who thrive in a large environment, while there are some people who want more personal attention and they want the smaller classrooms. Like for example, my first intro to econ class at Berkeley had 714 kids in it. Like that's a huge number. Like imagine one professor teaching a class of 700 students. Like it sounds insane, but those professors are so good at what they do that even though there are 700 people in there, each and every one of them is imbibing all the principles that they are trying to teach their students. So it really depends on what you want. Like the same thing might not work for you. To give you another example, like my roommate at Berkeley, he actually applied for a transfer to Claremont, McKenna because he thought that Berkeley was too intense for him. There were too many people out there and he wanted to move to a smaller school. He didn't end up taking that decision at the end of the day, but the whole idea is that there are some, like you need to really like think and self-reflect to see where you think you will be able to grow more, like whether you want that personal attention or whether you want that whole environment of 36,000 students around you. So it really depends on who you are as a person and where you think you can fit better.
Absolutely. And just in that, echoing what Samarth just said, class size is maybe one aspect of difference, right? The other aspects of difference are rural versus urban. You have semi-urban colleges. You have colleges with a huge focus on athletics, a huge focus on maybe a certain kind of community living that you're attracted to. So when picking a college, don't just be led by a brand name. Don't just be led by a rank. Because when you are choosing to spend 4 years of your life at a college, you're committing the next 4 years of your learning, how you're going to be shaped. You're committing to that college. So it has to be a good fit for you. It has to be a good fit for your interest, for what you're looking to also receive from that education, right? It is ultimately, think of it as, it's similar to picking a partner in life, right? It's similar to a relationship. It has to be a two-way street. Just as the college is picking you, you are also picking the college. So it's very important to go beyond just a rank, beyond just a brand name. And oftentimes, this happens with students and parents, that we get very caught up in the names that, we hear in our community. And it's important to go beyond that, because there are many times and many instances I faced where students have got into a certain college, and a semester later they realize that that college isn't the best fit for them. It could be a great college. I remember a student of mine, she'd got into Cornell, and she went there and she absolutely hated it, because she was not someone who could be in the rural setting of Cornell at the top of that mountain in Ithaca. It was just not her vibe. And despite having told her that, she went with the choice because, of the brand name. But a semester later, she actually transferred to Northwestern, where she had gotten in earlier, and she was so happy. So sometimes it's important to, take a step back and really think about, what is it that I want from a college community? Will I really be happy there? Because if your child, or if you are not going to be happy during your 4 years, a brand name or a rank is really not going to cut it. You're not going to remember it. You want to look back fondly at your college years and really value the experience you got. And that's why it's really important that a fit is established early on, right? Let's just not be led by brand names. Of course, we do want to send your kids, and we do want you to get into the best college out there, but not at the cost of your happiness, and not at the cost of what will actually really work for you. So just something to keep in mind. So getting ahead, yeah. So we covered a little bit of this, but Sam, if you want to just go over that again.
Yeah, sure, guys. As Devanshu was mentioning, I think college fit is very, very important. And yeah, unfortunately, I mean, sorry for the stereotype, but I do feel like sometimes, like Indian parents specifically, like really go after the brand name. But then again, you need to do full research as to like what are the colleges where you can thrive in. And like things such as weather, which sound trivial right now, can make a very, very big impact into your overall college experience. Like even when I was choosing which college to go to, right? Like, I mean, I was at the end of the day, like considering between say UVA, Michigan, and Berkeley. And I didn't want to be in a cold city. Like I knew that like when winter hits, like being raised and brought up in Delhi, like I had never lived in the cold. And I didn't want to give up on my social life. Like when the winter does hit, like I don't want to be cooped up in my dorm room. So I did want to like go out and enjoy and like do picnics in the sun. So like all of those things were very important to me. I know it sounds like very trivial right now that like, hey, how can I make my entire like 4 years decision based on weather? I'm not saying that's the only criteria to look at. But even when our scholars get into schools, right, like we build a full matrix as to with like 20 different criteria in there, like give them different weightages, and then decide like where should your child go, considering like all of these different types of metrics. And I'm talking specifically about the Ivy Leagues, like even though this is not like out there and well said, but like this is, I think, broadly the two buckets that they fall into, that I think schools like Brown is definitely known for their liberal arts school. They let you pursue any major that you would want to. You can also make your own major. So the liberal arts mindset is very, very ingrained within Brown students. While on the other hand, like universities like Princeton, I think they focus more on research. Like you will see probably the maximum number of Nobel laureates at Princeton because of the kind of research facilities that they have and what students can gain from them. Devanshi, if you have any other insight on these schools over here. I think you're on mute.
Sorry. So the thing that, I just wanted to add here, colleges like Harvard, Princeton, Yale, these are big research universities. They still offer a liberal arts experience, but the kind of resources that you'll have for research are stellar at these universities, and they really value their placement in that segment, right? Similarly, at a Harvard, today a Dartmouth has a very, very strong athletic profile in addition to an academic one. Again, Dartmouth, you can have a more STEM experience, but you can also have an amazing liberal arts experience at Dartmouth. So both are possible depending on what it is that you want to pursue. At Brown too, it's known for its interdisciplinary courses, for its free thinking. They have an open curriculum, absolutely open curriculum, where a student is given complete charge of their education. So that is on the complete opposite spectrum entirely, right, of STEM engineering courses, where they don't even decide what the set curriculum is. You get to pick. You are the charioteer of your education. You decide everything. So they give a lot of independence to the students. Oftentimes, only students who are very self-motivated should opt for that. I find that when you're confused but self-motivated, Brown works out. But for someone like me, maybe I would never go for Brown because it would leave me too confused and too lost. So again, it's a fit. There's nothing good or bad about that. It's what works best for you and what works best for your child. So yes, so the Ivy Leagues do offer a very vast range of experiences within academic study. It's the school that we apply to at the university, and it's the experience that we opt for. And it's, again, a huge part of that is the fit. For example, UPenn, right? It's known as the social Ivy. It's right in the heart of Pennsylvania. It's probably one of the reasons why I say my brother picked UPenn over Dartmouth. Dartmouth is in Hanover, completely enclosed and isolated community. There are people who have, graduated from there. I have friends from there who absolutely loved it. But for someone who likes, the city life, likes socializing, cannot be constrained to Hanover, which is a small town 3 hours from Boston, will absolutely hate it. So that's where it's very important to consider what is it that you're signing up for. It's not just an Ivy League, it's so many other things that come with it. So we can go forward.
I couldn't agree more. I also think, see, when you talk about Yale and Harvard, you don't hear so much about hey, my kid did CS or engineering from Yale or Harvard. They're definitely known more for the liberal arts side. Say, for example, the schools of public policy and political science are on top, right? You see most, I think probably close to 60-70% of US presidents have graduated from Yale, if I'm not mistaken. So of course, every school will have their niche, they will have their expertise. But yet again, because the US as a whole follows this holistic education mindset, you will have the at least the chance to study different subjects and then find what you're actually genuinely passionate about, what's your niche, and you can probably carve out a specific space for yourself. And all of these schools are amazing. Because solely for the fact that they'll let you do anything that you want and essentially figure out your own path within that subject area and your own exit out of college as well.
Absolutely. Can we go to the next slide, Sneha? Yeah.
All right, so guys, now digging slightly deeper into STEM universities as well. So I hope all of you guys know that STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. So yeah, I know many of you folks who are more on the liberal arts side, you might get scared when you hear all of these terms, oh my God, engineering or physics or chemistry, those sound like tough subjects. But yet again, the good thing about STEM is that the kind of exit options that you get after college are amazing. More so because that's genuinely the need of the market right now. Whether that's because we see so many tech companies out there, right? who are definitely at the top. Even when you look at the top S&P 500, I think 50 to 60% of those companies are going to be technology companies because of the kind of profits and revenues that they've seen in the past few years. So yeah, definitely with the STEM degree, recruiting could be potentially a little easier. But that being said, there's always multiple options out there. I was recently reading a report that the US job requirement to number of employees available is a ratio of 2:1. So definitely all companies are scrambling to find good talent out there. That being said, like just a little bit about research institutes versus institutes of technology. So research institutes are going to be slightly more pure science focused, could also be engineering focused for that matter, but the whole idea would be to work with professors to write research papers, and more fit for students who want to go into academia or teaching after they graduate from college. People who want to pursue a master's straight after college, I think research universities see a lot of that. Princeton, Johns Hopkins are two small examples, even Caltech for research institutes. So you'll see a lot of Nobel laureates here, a lot of Rhodes scholars like who would want to essentially impart all the knowledge that they have gained in these last few years and teach that to students so they can get more into research, they can get more into innovation. See, the US is known for innovation for a reason, because they have such great facilities. They spend so much time, money, effort, and resources into research, because that's the future of the world, right? Like you want to see what's next, you want to work on an idea which is revolutionary. And as opposed to institutes of technology, like the focus more is on teaching general like STEM subjects, engineering. All of those skills are also very, I would say they're like really like in the need right now, and they're definitely like the main requirement right now. And universities like Stanford and Carnegie Mellon are usually known for like their engineering schools. Again, it also errs on innovation. So I think the basic principle is always going to be the same: to excel at the sciences, to know everything in and out, and to innovate, to generate the next big idea. So they follow a similar theme that is slightly different on like how they execute things. Devanshi, if there's anything you would want to add here.
Yeah, nothing to add here. But again, just this is also something to keep in mind when applying, that research also is part of the fit profile. What is it that you are seeking from an education? A research institute is great, as you know, as Samarth mentioned, if you're looking for a future in academia, if you're looking to get into a master's right after graduating. So these are also things that Athena considers when we create your college list. So when we create a college list, it's not just, picking competitive colleges that you have a good chance at. It's a very well thought out strategy, which is based not only on what you are looking for currently, but also what you're going to look for in the future and what your future plan and path ahead is for your life. And we help you think about that. We help you understand what are those options that are out there. So when we are working with your child, or when we're working with you, we are committed, we are invested not only in the process of today, but also in what will happen tomorrow. What's the plan for your future? And that you can only plan for the future if you know what you want and how we can help you get there, right? And the college is just the means to help you get where you want. So that's why when considering that college list, these are very important conversations that we try to have. So again, just reiterating, the importance of the strategy when picking a college list and going about that.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we can move on. Happy. Oh, okay, careers. I forgot that we had the slide, but yeah, I think we've already covered some of it before. But then again, there are multiple career options, like whether you go to a STEM university or a liberal arts college. As I said, like once you develop depth into a particular subject, right? Like if you can call yourself a master like in a particular field, like there is no way that you won't be able to find a job after college. Like as I said, like there are enough like good companies out there which are looking for good talent. So the idea is to like to do well, to thrive, to like actually make your name for yourself like in these colleges, and the possibilities after that would be endless. Even though I did say that like, okay, STEM is the need of the hour because we see so many technology companies out there. But as we are now coming at this intersection, as we had mentioned, between liberal arts and technology, so again, the liberal arts side also becomes equally important. So whether that's fintech, whether that's UI UX design, whether that's wealth tech, could be anything, right? There's always going to be an amalgamation of two different subjects. So again, like after, in case you do go to a STEM university, pursue say engineering or computer science, which a lot of folks want to do out there, you can definitely get a job as a software engineer, a product manager, could also be in, again, in UI UX design. You could get into biotech, environmental engineering, systems analyst, data analytics. Like we all keep reading about like this whole essence of data and the value of big data. So data analytics again is a very, very budding career option right now. And I've actually seen many students like get into data analytics, etc., even after graduating from a liberal arts college. Like even if they pursued say economics or something, like wherever there's like more regression analyses or like any sort of research element involved, right? You would anyway pick up all of these skills. Apart from that, you obviously do have your general like mechanical engineering or civil engineering type of jobs out there. You can become a statistician. So again, like that also airs on data analytics. So these are basically I think one of the more budding job profiles out there that people do hunt for. Devanshi, if you want to take over the liberal arts side.
Yeah. So when graduating from a liberal arts college, you have, I think maybe 15 or 20 years ago, the kind of career opportunities you have if you graduated from a liberal arts college were much fewer than there are today. I think even the recruiters now really value a liberal arts education. I can give an example here, I think, to make it easy for everyone to understand. I have a close friend. She went to Wesleyan and she graduated in psychology. But she was always very interested in the world of consulting. And she just ended up over, a few summers at Wesleyan practicing with a few friends, doing some case interviews. And she managed, and she applied and she managed to crack the interview. And it's, I think, now been 5 or 6 years that she's been a consultant with Bain. So what you study at these colleges is not indicative of the career option or the career path that you're going to have in the future. Liberal arts colleges give you the platform to pick up a lot of skills during your 4 years that you're at the campus. And if there is a certain career opportunity or career path that you want to pursue, there are always many, many options in helping you get there. Right? So whether that is, advertising representative, whether that is a marketing specialist, whether that's getting into consulting, whether it's an events director, whether it's a human resource specialist, many, many, many avenues are open to you through a liberal arts education.
See, guys, at the end of the day, sorry, Devanshi, at the end of the day, the subject doesn't matter. Like what these interviewers or like what these companies want to see is how you think. Like, how do you think about problems? Like, what is your, like, do you involve like algorithmic thinking when you look at problems? Like they want you to find solutions to different problems. Like they want to see problem solving skills. Like these are the kind of more implicit things that they want to see. They don't really care about what subject you're pursuing. Like I see so many of my friends, like after engineering, get into consulting or banking or anything, right? Like, it really just depends on like what you're passionate about. So like I think it's more about you fulfilling your own personal desires and what you would want to gain further depth into. That being said, consulting it could be a very, very good career option after college if you're still confused as to like what industry you would want to focus on. Both Devanshi and I did go into consulting, worked across different industries, and only after that like we were able to realize like what our true passions was. And what we would want to go further deeper into. So yeah, I mean, you don't need to be decided that I want to be doing XYZ thing even after college. Like there are multiple opportunities out there which will help you explore.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's so well said, Sam. So something to keep in mind is that you don't have to have all the answers when you're going to college or even after you graduate, right? It's a journey and it's a process, and sometimes it's trying out the options there to then figure out what is it that works for you.
Yep.
So we shall now open the floor for questions. So please feel free to direct your questions at us. No question is silly. Sometimes the silliest of questions are the most important ones I've found, because everyone's thinking it, but no one's asking it. So please Any question, big or small, is welcome. And even if there is a question that is outside of the theme that we're discussing today, please feel free to direct that towards us as well. We will try our best in answering that too. Anything about Athena, about our process, about our team, any question is welcome.
Yeah, Devanshi and I are tired of throwing Gyan at you guys. Please shoot your questions at us.
My name is Akhilesh Srivastava. I'm father of Ashutosh Srivastava. Actually, so I'm looking for admission for my son Ashutosh. So I have one question. Actually, I have seen that the computer science is part of the, I mean, it's sometime engineering department also, and also part of the basically, yeah, I mean non-engineering side also. So what is different? I mean, if someone, and I think there are chances that person will get admission easily, maybe I don't know, depending on the college, but sometimes it has become easier to get admission to those colleges. Like in Berkeley, you can easily get admission to this computer science department, non-engineering one. But what is the career? I mean, from career perspective, what is important? I mean, how, if you compare it both, when you pass out, is it, I mean, will you get similar kind of opportunities, number one for MS admission or PhD admissions? Or, I mean, if you want to go to job, like companies, do they prefer both the students in the same way, or if there is a preference one over other?
So I'll answer the question, and I then pass it on to Sam to add what he wants. So thank you so much for your question, sir. So you can study a computer science degree both, as you very correctly said, at a liberal arts college or at through an engineering path. Recruiters don't look at one more favorably than the other. They are both considered equally competitive in the job market. And even the careers that you can have after, right? Whether you want to go into an academia after, whether you want to pursue a master's after, whether you want to go into an engineering job after, all the options are open to both graduates. The only difference I would say here is that the students that tend to pick computer science at an engineering campus would be those who are also interested in subjects which are pure science, that offer, so for example, in conjunction to computer science, if I want to study engineering courses as well, because I'm interested in that, that option is then available to them. Versus if I do a computer science at a liberal arts college, like say at Wellesley, I don't have the option of those engineering courses available to me. So if we want to keep that option open, we then pick computer science at a campus that also gives me the engineering course options. Because sometimes students like to study them in accordance with each other if there is an interest that is there in the engineering field.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so one more question on this. So when you fill up the application, is any, I mean, when you preference your major, can we give the preference one, I mean, can we choose liberal arts computer science 1 and engineering computer science number 2? Is it possible, or you can choose only one?
So, I think I think there's a slight misunderstanding. So liberal arts is not, it's not an offering. It's a type of education that a certain college is based on. The principle of education at that college is liberal arts. So for example, Berkeley has a school of liberal arts. You can apply to that school to study computer science, or you can study computer science at the College of Engineering, for example, at UPenn. But liberal arts, बोल के कोई option वैसा नहीं है. It's not an option. Liberal arts is the mode of study at that campus.
Yeah, so you basically will have to choose between which college you're applying to. So if you're 100% certain that you want to get into engineering or that you want to do CS, then you apply to the School of Engineering. But see, you can only apply to one school. So you either apply to the liberal arts school or you apply to the School of Engineering. You can take classes at both, it doesn't matter. That being said, the competitiveness does depend university to university. And you rightly said the College of Engineering is the most competitive college at Berkeley. So in case you do go through the liberal arts route, like there is a possibility that you might have slightly higher chance to get into versus the
exactly.
you have a higher chance to get in, sir. But sometimes also what happens is that if you are getting in and then thinking that I'm going to transfer to the College of Engineering, that's not very easy to do after you get in. So we really discourage our applicants that if you're considering getting into the engineering school is your ultimate goal, transferring through the liberal arts college is also not an easy process. But yes, the engineering schools at most of these universities are more competitive, obviously because the pool of applicants, are STEM driven applicants, and it is more competitive for sure. So, however, an inter-university transfer also is not very easy. So something to keep in mind.
So that's fine. So suppose he does the BS for liberal arts department in computer science, but then he wants to do MS in engineering, right? Computer science, that is possible, right?
It's possible, but he'll have to transfer to the College of Engineering to do that.
No, so I think he's talking about a master's.
That will be fresh admission.
He can always pursue a master's in the engineering college.
Yeah, of course, that will be fresh admission, right? That will be considered as a fresh admission anyway.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Sorry to interrupt. Please fill the feedback form and let us know how the webinar was. Also, we have a question from Anne. She's asking, can you say about your process and fees?
So, and I would actually highly encourage, if you want to learn more about a process and our fees, we did cover a little bit of it initially, but I would suggest you go onto our website, and on the right-hand side corner, you will see a book a session option. So we do 3 sessions every week where we tell everyone about our processes, and we will cover the fees aspect as well. So I would highly encourage attending one of those sessions, either on a Tuesday, Thursday, or a Saturday.
Yeah. Aina has a question.
Yes, I actually wanted to ask that, like, there are so many big universities that have a good name, say Carnegie Mellon, and they have study abroad campuses in Doha, like in the education city. So what are the pros and cons of being accepted at a study away campus?
So there are no, you don't approach it from a pro and con perspective, Aina. This is, for example, even Yale has a Yale NUS campus, right? So these campuses are great. I think the con, if I have to outline something, is that these are newer campuses. So therefore, maybe the diversity of the student body, the professors that you're getting access to may not be as experienced as you would get at, at the main campus for sure. But again, these campuses are great. They are set up with the same kind of, ethos that the parent campus shares. So you will see a lot of that transferring onto the study away campuses. These study away campuses are sometimes easier to get accepted into. They're probably a little cheaper as well. Also, these study away campuses will often offer an opportunity to study at the parent campus for a while. So you get best of both worlds in that case. Sometimes students opt for the study away campus because of a variety of personal, financial reasons. Sometimes it's closer to where they live, so that also works out better for them. So this is, again, something a lot to do with your personal choice and preference. So I think that's important to keep in mind. There's no pro and con as such. I think it just depends on what works best for you.
Yeah, I think one thing to keep in mind, like when you do think of these offshore campus, is the opportunities that you'll get after, right? Like one of the main reasons why people want to go to the main campus, which I guess in most cases would be located in the US, is that the exit opportunities out of those campuses would be amazing. Because like, as I said, like US is the fastest growing nation, like for the past few years, and they have the most opportunities out there. So that would be one major reason to consider that. That being said, I know that like most of these offshore campuses also have like exchange program options and all of those things available to most of their students. So you could easily recruit at a different country as well. Like even if you want to apply to say Europe, even after studying in the US or Singapore, you can totally do that.
Absolutely.
Thank you. But there's one more question to that. Like the visa that we get post-study, the work permit for 2 years if I'm doing a STEM course. So in that case, if I am, sorry?
It's 3 years if you do STEM course, sorry.
Oh, okay. So if I would do that probably on an offshore campus, will I get the visa only for that particular campus, say just Doha, or will I get that, or will that be applicable in the US?
No, it won't be applicable in the US because you won't be getting an F1 visa. And on the F1 visa is where you can do the OPT or the CPT, which is the 3-year or the 1-year extension after your course. So you will actually only be getting a visa from the country wherever the campus is. So you'll unfortunately miss out on that.
I kind of did my research on the internships and everything that we get there. So in some cases, students also go for like a summer internship to the US. So would that not count as like increasing the employability chances after graduation?
Of course they would. I mean, you can also find a job like wherever you are studying as well, right? Like it doesn't have to be in the US, but like in case that is what you would want to do in the future, you definitely do have that option. But at that point, like it's not the university that's sponsoring you. At that point, it's the company that wants you there who is sponsoring you. So it really depends on what kind of internship or a job you're able to crack after or during college. And that company will be sponsoring that visa and not the university.
Right.
Okay,
So it definitely increases your employability, a good internship. And if that internship has, you know, worked out favorably and they've really liked you, they might offer you a return offer, in which case, you know, the visa becomes a non-issue for you, because if they are likely to sponsor the visa, then, you know, you're all set. I mean, it doesn't matter if, you know, you don't have that F1 OPT visa. So as Samarth very clearly said, like, if you're able to crack that, you know, great internship or that, you know, that interview, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and maybe some universities, like maybe all, but like some of them would actually have programs like as a part of the curriculum that you need to do an internship, which might be in the US. So they might have a tie-up with the Department of Homeland Security that like, okay, as a part of my program, they are going to be doing a 3-month internship in the US. So for those 3 months, please issue them an F1 visa. But then again, like all of those arrangements will differ university to university.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I'm sorry, not related to this, but I have another question. May I?
Of
Yeah.
course.
So for example, if I'm getting into like a good university, say University of Chicago, and on the other hand, I also get into University of Illinois at Chicago with a good scholarship. So I understand that one is like a private university and has like an Ivy League status, but University of Illinois at Chicago, like if I'm getting into a course that is good there or is known or reputed and getting a scholarship, so what do you think is a better fit?
So again, this is a very, very, very personal question, Aina, because here it's not about which is a better college, right? Of course, we understand that the U Chicago is better ranked, it has more brand name. I completely get that. But if the financial aid factor, if the scholarship is a factor that really matters to you, to your family, then of course go for UIUC. UIUC by no means, Illinois Urbana-Champaign is not a, it's a great college. And if the scholarship that you're getting is, you know, something that is important to you, then make that decision. However, if you feel that, you know, I can swing U Chicago and make it happen, and the scholarship is not something that is really going to affect my financial situation and circumstance, and we can really push it through, then go for the U Chicago. So here, there's no one is better than the other. It's what is possible in our current circumstance and what can we make happen comfortably.
So like in a nutshell, it's just about the names, because they're so renowned and like they've become a brand. On the other hand, I just hope like it won't affect the quality of education that I would get.
Not at all. The UIUC quality of education is fabulous. It's fabulous. Okay. Yes, the U Chicago is better ranked, but UIUC is a very competitive college that is very well known and offers a very high standard of education. It's by no means easy to get in.
Because there are so many state universities as well, like ASU, I've heard that they offer like brilliant scholarships, like merit-based. But at the same time, when these private universities do not really offer that much scholarship, but everybody just has a comparison that the quality of education of the one that has lower acceptance rate or like no scholarships might be greater.
I disagree with you here, Aina, because, you know, liberal arts colleges like the ones I mentioned earlier in the seminar, they mostly are all private university, all private colleges, and all the liberal arts colleges are popular for providing good international financial aid, right? So the important key word here is international financial aid. And I think this ties also into the question that Lavanya has asked on the chat, that how does the fees of a liberal arts compare to an Ivy League? So it's pretty much the same. There's no difference between the fees of an Ivy League and the fees of a liberal arts. In fact, a liberal arts
For an
sometimes
international student, it's going to be the same.
for an international student, it's going to be absolutely the same. And sometimes you'll even find that a liberal arts college could be more expensive than some of the bigger universities out there. Like I know Wellesley is more expensive to attend than it is to attend Berkeley, since Berkeley is a public university and gets a lot of aid from the California government. Wellesley, on the other hand, because it's a private university, it's much more expensive to attend. On the other hand, Wellesley provides a lot of Wellesley, Williams, all of these liberal arts colleges. They have a lot of international aid that they provide. Grinnell. So I disagree with you, Aina, that private colleges that have a low acceptance rate don't have international aid. In fact, liberal arts colleges are known for that. And that's how they attract the best pool of candidates and applicants, because they can really, really, really offer that as an advantage.
And I would actually want to add, like, again, like a side of College Fit over here. They're like, when making this decision, right, like you need to think about like where you will be able to do better, like whether you want to be a big fish in a small pond, or like do you think you'll be able to, that you're competitive enough and like you will pull through being at the top in any of these more competitive universities. Like U Chicago no doubt will be more competitive as compared to UIUC, even while you're there. Like obviously it's more competitive to get in, but it's also more competitive to survive over there. Like it's known to have a very cutthroat environment, like, and very, very rigorous. So if you think that like you'll be able to thrive through that and like you'll be able to make a name for yourself in that environment, definitely go to that. But if you think like a slightly easier environment where you can be on top would be better suited for you, then maybe going for a slightly lower ranked university. Again, like education standards in the US as a whole are amazing. So like, I don't think you would be compromising on professor quality or anything. So in my opinion, you'll be fine. And even from an exit opportunity standpoint, like for example, like even though I went to Berkeley and I got a job as a consultant, I started at PwC. The person who was starting at the same position as me was from this university called BYU, which is Brigham Young University in Utah. And there were at least 5 people there from there. I had never heard of this place, but we both started at the same spot after graduating from whatever universities that we came from. So maybe they did so well at this BYU campus that they were able to crack a good job after, versus me, maybe I didn't crack the top that I could have from my college. So you can look at it either way.
Thank you so much. I mean, it really cleared off a lot of doubts that I had. I've been thinking about this for a while, but thank you so much.
Of course.
Thank you, Aina, for your questions. Now we have a question from Lavanya.
So we answered Lavanya's
we
answered the second half of the question. I think the first half of the question is, how easy or difficult is it to transfer from a liberal arts college to an Ivy League?
Yeah.
It's easy or difficult depending on how you did at the liberal arts your first year. So if you attended a liberal arts and you're not liking it and you want to transfer to an Ivy League, if you did really well during your time at the liberal arts, you had a good GPA, 3.84, you had a few activities, you can get a good letter of recommendation from a professor you were at, you can definitely apply. It is competitive, of course, but if you're not liking it at the liberal arts and there is a certain other college that you feel you're a better fit at, it's great. You should apply. We encourage it, but again, it's not easy.
That being said, please do not go after the brand. Like I cannot stress this enough that please do not go after the brand when you think of a transfer. Like starting from scratch, like when you go to a new university, like after a year or two of attending another university is really hard. Like from a social angle and from like an academic angle as well, like to pick all of those things up, like to get used to a new campus, new environment, new friends, new professors. It's a tough sell. Like I would definitely suggest, like in case you are able to find your sweet spot at the university that you have gotten in, go there and like kill it there.
Right. And obviously if you're very unhappy and you absolutely hate it, then we get it and we'll support that decision. But it's not going to be a walk in the park. A transfer is never a walk in the park, and it's very difficult to assimilate into a new environment. So unless you really dislike the current campus, we discourage thinking about a transfer, because nowhere is easy. No place is easy to settle in. It takes time and it takes effort to make your new campus feel like home. Yeah. I think Mr. Monish,
Monish has a
yeah.
question.
But
Also, I
think
would request you all to please fill the feedback form. I've left the link in the chat box.
Yeah.
Like, guys, please do fill out the feedback form. Please tell us what we can do better. Our motto is to be better than yesterday. So please help us get there.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So may I ask my question?
Yes,
Go for it.
please.
So my question is, I'm in 12th right now, and if I want to get into MIT or Harvard or Stanford for my engineering, and as I don't have any national achievement, and as they see the profile of us, how can I do that?
So,
And how can I build up my profile?
Monish, I think you asked $1 million question, which has no one straight answer. So there is, there's I think a wrong perception that, if I don't have some national accolades, or I've not won some Olympian medal, or I've not written a book, or I've not cracked the next black hole theory, I can't get into Harvard or I can't get into MIT. They are looking for candidates that are, of course, academically very skilled, but who have shown initiative in their own possible way. So if you have shown initiative, if you have activities that you are involved in, where you have excelled, where you have been involved in your community, where you have had an impact, that's what they want to see. It's not just about winning national accolades or being the, number one at a sport. So constantly comparing that, okay, if I haven't done that, can I even apply or can I even get in? I think that's not the right way to approach it. Yes, these colleges do require candidates. I mean, they do, are more suited to candidates that are academically very competitive. So that is there for sure. And a good profile is important, but that doesn't mean that if you don't, have a national award or an international award, you can't get in or won't get accepted. Any of these campuses are very competitive, and to create the profile to get into them is also a long process. But whatever, I would suggest that since you're in grade 12 and you're looking at applying, focus on trying to display the best of what you have done in the most effective way possible. So create your brand out of what you already have on your profile. Try to display that in the best way possible. And I think that should create an effective profile for you.
And to be honest, do not be afraid to take a gap year if you think that you don't have enough elements in your profile. I know I think that whole term is a pretty big taboo over here, but if you think, it could be very, very effective if you use that 1 year to the best of its extent. See, you don't have school, there's so much time to work on different types of projects, so much time to work on standardized testing or anything that you have not done in the past. So maybe that could be one approach that you could think of in case you want to change your mind right now and want to apply at the latter end of your grade 12.
Yeah.
So as of now, I have school achievements, but not what they require, MITs or the other colleges.
See, Monisha, unfortunately, this question is not as straightforward as it seems. There are multiple different things that go into profile evaluation from an admission officer standpoint. They would want to look at your academic grades. They would want to look at your standardized testing. They would want to see how much academic rigor you can handle. This is all from an academic end, which is probably only 25-30% of what they look at. Apart from this, they want to see what you've done, what impact have you created in society? What kind of projects have you pursued? In case you've done any academic research, maybe that is also something that could play a role over there. What kind of internships or real world experience have you had in the past? That's another way to show universities that see, even at an early level, I'm doing so much more than outside of my school, which shows them that okay, you are truly driven and passionate about growing and learning more. And that's essentially a few elements that could help boost your chances to get into top schools.
Right.
Ashley.
Yeah. Since the standardized testing is like relative, how important it is for the international students? I mean, what's the score like? Would you expect for the students to apply to a good college or whatever, branding or
Right,
subject?
right. So when it comes to SAT, the importance of SAT is slowly phasing out. Colleges are looking at it less. However, that being said, it is still an important part of the application. It's not the only part of the application, and what is a good score is a very difficult question to answer because it depends on the college that we are applying to, whether that college, how that college views the SAT, and what the profile of the child is. If the child is not a good test taker, I was never a good test taker, right? So if the child is not a good test taker, despite that, there may be other parts of the application that could be fabulous for the child and could help that child get into a top university. So what is a good score is I think the answer to that question would be whatever the best the child can achieve through 2 or 3 tries at the SAT is the best score for the child. So we are never going to come out there and say that X is the best score, and without this score you won't get in. There are certain universities that look at an SAT score favorably, and sometimes we would advise you not to apply to certain universities if you don't have a certain certain kind of score. But that doesn't mean that if you don't have a certain score you can't get into college at all. So unfortunately there is no one straight answer to answer the question that you've just asked.
All right, the question booms from here that the SAT results were declared yesterday. Right. And my son has got a score of 1500. So we are still unsure whether he's still in 2 minds, like whether he should go for a second attempt or for a stay with this, because we were going through the SAT scores for most of the colleges, even for Harvard and all, we saw it's like 1470, but then for Berkeley it went up to 1530. So we are in that state of confusion.
Ma'am, I think what you must understand, when these colleges offer an average SAT, it's a range that they're talking about, right? So what they are trying to display to the readers and to to interested applicants is that most of our class have had a SAT score between X, say maybe Berkeley, between 1530 would be maybe on the higher side, but maybe a 1400 to a 1530. So it's not that today a 1400 candidate will not get in or a 1300 candidate will not get in. They are trying to give you that average set. So today maybe your child with a 1500 will manage to make it in, right? And that 1570 is not really going to make too much of a difference. Again, giving it a second time only makes sense if your son can really up that score, really study and up that score. That's when it is really going to matter. So I wouldn't be too focused on, what the exact score at these universities are. Yes, of course, the range is important, but a 1500 is great. So between a 1500 and a 1530, I don't see too much of a difference, right? So
yeah, that being said, the UCs are now completely test blind. So the idea that like the average SAT score for Berkeley is 1530, you might want to recheck that back. Could be an old stat for sure. But yeah, going forward, they're going to be completely test blind. And I think some other universities out there are also test blind. That being said, it is important for international students to still take it wherever it's recommended and still viewed, because they don't have any other place to benchmark you academically. Like that's the only way that unites each and every scholar that is applying to that particular school. So they're able to place you academically as to like where you hold. That being said, universities do look at SAT scores in a band perspective. So anything above a 1550 would be one band, anything between a 1500 and a 1550 would be one band. So in case you're a 1540 holder or you're 1500 holder, it won't make any difference because you will still be in that band of applicants, which are between the 1500 and the 1550 mark. I would say that 1500 is actually a pretty decent score, and I would now focus on building a good profile. And once we have all of that covered, in case last moment we do have a chance and want to take an attempt essay to see if we can do better or not, maybe we could try that. But I think 1500 is a very good score to work with. So now the focus should be on profile development.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because at the cost of spending more time on a second SAT, and kind of the difference between a 1500 and a 1530 would not change your profile too much, but maybe spending that extra time on a project or on a research paper or on an activity, or creating a different value to your brand, may actually get you into that college instead of that extra 30 points on an SAT.
Thank you. I mean, we were just confused because I guess since we attended a Athena session with Miss Pia Chatterjee, she said it was a relative term. So I personally feel this is fine. I mean, he should be concentrating more on his, since he's in grade 11, on his profile building. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Also, just one thing to keep in mind, and this is not just directed towards Srijita, I think colleges are, you're submitting 4 years of your academic work from 9, 10, 11, 12. You give the SAT for 4 hours on a Saturday morning. So how you have performed over 4 years, a college is definitely going to give that more weightage than they're going to give 4 hours on a Saturday morning. Some Saturday, you could just be having a bad day. But over 4 years, you cannot be having a bad day or a bad, for all your 4 years can't not indicate your true potential as an academic student. So always remember that. So as a bad test taker myself, I can tell you that my consistent academic performance over those 4 years kind of outweighed my bad test score, right? So that is really important. So at the cost of not doing well in class 11, if you take the SAT, that's completely not recommended.
Yeah, that's the thing, because since he's the next window is on December and he will have his assessments then, we are not so keen on him taking that, because that would matter more.
Completely agreed. 4 years versus 4 hours, something to consider. Yes. So someone's asked a question, what do you think of summer programs at Ivy Leagues to enhance your profile? Absolutely great option. You should definitely go for it. They're a little competitive. If you have the time, you have the inclination, must do it.
I would just want to add here that make sure that in case you are interested in doing the summer program, see the thing the summer programs are good for is getting you exposure into a particular school. So if you feel very, very strongly about going to a particular school, this could be a great avenue for you to test the waters and see what it's actually like to be on that campus. That being said, just make sure whatever summer program you choose actually fits in your overall story and your overall brand. Say, for example, if you're a heavy STEM student and apply for SUMAC in Stanford but didn't get in, but then try to settle for say a more liberal artsy thing at Brown, that might not fit into your story that well. So just make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons and not just because it will give a push to the profile. It really depends on how it fits into your overall story rather than just something that points out in your overall profile.
Right. So if there aren't any more questions, I think we will now call the session to a close. And please do fill out the feedback form so that we can understand what we can do better to help you with.
Thank you so much, everyone, for your time.
Thank you.